So I think that, one of my claims that if I would say it, that if I was going to be running for government in this country, yes, I would change a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to, especially for different companies, such thing. If I can, I will. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of them that I would change. It would be starting with the housing sector, definitely
Mm-hmm.
with the housing
Yeah.
sector. I think for social housing and private landlords alike,
Mm-hmm.
I would really start demolishing some of their stuff that they've got in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just for overall governmental protection, yes?
Yeah.
To protect all governments into the future, looking into the future, because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's very dangerous either way that you sling this one, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. It has a chain reaction that can be happening. But another one I would probably do is the national grid.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Is it National Grid?
I don't know.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
The main energy company, the main supplier
Uh-huh.
is National Grid. And they branch off with all the other companies, don't they?
Yeah.
So they have E.ON, OV, yes, and all different things like that. So, etc., yes?
Yeah.
ETC.
Yeah.
So I would do away with this whole structure here, and this could be all damaging for jobs and everything else, but I don't think it is. I would help this company build up a platform that they could have a direct source to customers rather than go through here, here, and here.
Yeah.
I would obsolete this,
Mm-hmm.
and you could say that's a lot of jobs that will go. Not really, because it would, if you were to calculate this and take it over with AI anyway, it is going to.
Yeah,
it's
it is
unforeseen.
going anyway.
It's going anyway. So I would remove all of the middlemen and ladies, or middle humans, middle beings. And I would have it so that the national grid is the direct company that
Yeah.
all people would then begin to deal with. And why would this be important? Well, I believe that large margin of profit that goes into pocket, where we hear about E.ON made over, I don't know, 16 trillion in profit per year or some ridiculous number like that. And all
Yeah,
of these
but-
companies are making an awful lot of money for a pocket.
Billions and billions. Yeah.
But your pocket doesn't fund us.
Mm.
Your pocket doesn't fund, and they say that it does fund new projects, but I don't think it does. I think that this pocket profit shouldn't be available, especially when it comes to things like energy company. I think the pocket should be the tax pot
Yeah.
to try and the tax pot, a new type of a tax pot, not taxes that are going to be used like a dog tax. That's another one I'd have in. But not different things like that. And also a tax on legislating to legalize growing on marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah.
Or hemp or different things like that. I would reach out that there would be new products. And why does this? Because it almost, in my mind, support something called space. All of this stuff needs to support space travel eventually, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And National Grid, legalization of marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and to be able to grow it, but under licensing. You can grow it inside your own home, however, you will pay for this license. Safety checks need to be done. No, you can't use CO2. If you're growing super skunk, it will still be illegal. Just generalized, gentle plants that you can have. It's very good for business. Small cafes, restaurants, making wicker from the leftover products.
Yeah.
Also, it's really great at combating this thing called CO2.
Yeah.
And all of the things that come off of that, such as grow rooms, GW,
Yeah.
also lighting
Mm-hmm.
and fans, yes?
Yeah.
All of this stuff supports this.
Mm-hmm.
It also, I would make it so that there would be different locations, so that in certain areas, people that want to light up and smoke in a recreational sort of way or sense, you can go to these areas.
Yeah.
And the people who don't want to smoke that sort of stuff, well, here's a place for you too. It is illegal for you to smoke in this area, but it's legal for you to smoke in this area. And then you get a sense of best of both worlds, don't you? You can't please everybody, but I think that you must give it a good go, at least. And then no one can say that you didn't try at least to please everyone. And then you've got certain pubs, certain restaurants, certain cafes, which again is good for small businesses.
Yeah.
And it's good for the community alike, especially with the new movement of youngsters. And it sort of stops this whole youngsters leaving our nation to go to other nations
Mm-hmm.
where they can light up.
Yeah.
Again, and it's good for tourism. It would also be good for arcades. It would be good for light shows. especially if we're going in to move into holograms.
Yeah.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would look very good. It would be good for music venues. And I think overall, it just brings a sense of peace and stability.
Yeah.
And I think it's just got so many win-win situations and factors to it that I would immediately bring this in.
Mm-hmm.
And it supports an awful lot of small companies, especially ones that are making motors for fans.
Yeah.
They could revolutionize the way fans are built
Mm-hmm.
in such a way that we could then start installing this into cars. Or perhaps types of electro helicopters or electro aeroplanes. It seems very far-fetched, but these things move on to that. Then lighting. If we can get lighting down, that's less of a demand on energy, even more so, and it can be more rejuvenating to the skin.
Yeah.
It can give you all of the goodness that usually the sun would give you, and then we see a reduction in seasonal annual disorder or depression, which is also known as SAD each and every year. We then start to limit this. Street lights become better, car lights become better, and then plants that grow underneath these become a lot better. So not only do you have a light on in your house, it's also feeding your plants, it's feeding your skin, and it's very beneficial for health and morale in the darker months.
Yeah.
Suicide rates go down, different things like this. So I think this is very beneficial. And what's more, it works for space. Why does it work for space? Because then you can grow in space, grow on the moon. And it then, if you are able to design a light that uses very little energy to achieve the thermal, well, if you want to produce the light, let's keep it simple, at a very cheap cost, it becomes more easier for you to be able to build something off of a solar panel out in space.
Yeah.
And then you can have a solar farm. You can have a great hanging garden of Lunan, let's say, which is the moon, converting that into a greenhouse.
Yeah.
More food comes in, more healthier, more nicer. Animals are supported, you're supported, you don't eat till you're extinct, you see? Then there is potential for colonization.
Yeah.
Whether that is other worlds or whether it is space in itself. Great honeymoons actually on the moon. I don't know, whichever your fascination is with all of that. This all goes on to doing a lot more stuff. Batteries, timers, different things like that. Insulation and grow rooms. Little grow hubs or something else like that. Nature. And it's a market that is so duality. It's unbelievable, right? So yes, you're applying and appealing for new jobs to come and build these very safe but light rooms.
Yeah.
That would then eventually work into human light rooms as well.
Uh-huh.
But you can also appeal to indoor growers.
Yeah.
What if you've got some exotic plants? There's another market there. You can then, if you're a florist, cheaply keep your florist going. And not only going, rather than having cut plants, well, what about actual plants that are grown and sustained underneath this light as well? What about if you are an indoor, you liked most of your life to be outside growing your veggies outside. However, you feel that you can't get around as much as you used to, but you've got one indoors. You don't need to go out in the cold, and you can grow this even if you are elderly or young. You then start out, whether it be from your cress for your eggs that you'll have, or whether it is because you're a full-on farmer that want to grow potatoes, different things like that. It then opens a door for hydroponics, aqua hydroponics, aqua aero hydroponics systems. Again, applying air, fish, waste, and that's where you get the aqua from, and you bubble it, aeroponics. And then you have the water in itself to flood and dip down. Again, this is very good. And the yields that you get off of this, the crops that you get off of this then opens an avenue for under-shop farms, underground farms. Start below, same with above. You know, it's got to start somewhere. And I think this is very beneficial for a lot of cultures, to be honest, especially our culture of how we are. I think this is important, especially when we take farming to the next level, the next step up. Farming 1.0, fields, different things like that. Farming 2.0, underground plus your fields. More food than you know what to do with. That's ensuring that your species can expand. If your species can begin to expand, you need more food. Sure, you're going to need more moisture. But again, you're going to need some good amounts to go and mine different moons, yes, to be able to extract the very salty materials that are on there, especially if it's in water. Bring it close to the sun, use the sun to evaporate this, collect the vapor that comes off of that, keep the salt. Solar salt. Remember that next time you sprinkle it on your fish and chips, that this salt came from European moon. Right? From, and the water that you're drinking now, it come from removing the salts from the moisture that has been collected from Europa using the sun, blessed by Ra. And that water that you are drinking didn't come from Earth. Therefore, this moves in such a good direction. But in order for these steps to be made, and such as new types of fuel systems that we might need. So at the moment, we say that fossil fueling is moving over, yes?
Yeah.
Well, it's very expensive to start experimenting with certain things. It's very expensive to start, the National Grid has done really well at connecting people to the grid. But what if they had more money in the pot, rather than these companies putting it into one person's pocket or individual pockets?
Yeah.
Very nice. It served the purpose. But what if you could put it in the National Grid's pot?
Yeah.
That pot reserved for making new ways of generating electricity. Now, whether that is charging up carbon dioxide and bubbling it into water until the water becomes so acidic in carbon that you can then make a battery from that carbon by using the carbon dioxide battery. I mean, it's an odd thing to think about, really, isn't it? But is it possible? Think of how many other carbon dioxide planets that you've got. You've got hydrogen fuel. The reason why I say hydrogen is such a big prize in this, and why National Grid would probably want to be cashing in on this. Have you seen how big Jupiter is? Have you seen how big, Saturn is? Have you seen how much hydrogen is in that thing? And just to skim through the atmosphere and have something that was, remove all of its oxygen out of it, all of the air, actually. And you want to suck out all the air. And as this probe flies and skims the atmosphere of Jupiter at the right ratio, at the right time, it sucks in all of that and then pushes out the side of Jupiter. Now, this is testing what humans are able to do, but I believe that they can do it if they just push themselves to do it. Suck in all of that hydrogen gas from Jupiter and then rendezvous it with the Earth in a chain-like pattern. You have an awful lot of fuel. You've got a lot of fuel that can keep you going. And then there are other planets that are out there that are giants, that contain other gases. I mean, the one thing that comes great from Voyager is knowing what is out there. And with the right minds, and is it now the time to start exploring these with robots, if you can? And yes, sure, the pressure of the planet is tremendous down towards its skin, let's say, but not from its atmosphere. It's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad. You can still get what you need from just skimming it, and bit by bit it will shrink down. That's if that's even possible. But it ensures that humanity keep on going. Keep going. Just keep going until you become the stars. And with removing some of these other companies, although sure it's destructive, but yet we're looking in the ashes to not wait for the phoenix to rise up. We want to go in and create as many phoenixes from those ashes as we possibly can. So again, if they've got the pot, they've got the know-how, can they start these endeavors? And then let's say there's a massive crisis, but this pot of profit, and then to pay your bills, to pay your energy bill, you are not only paying for the electricity that you receive now. No, you are paying for your children to have energy. And you're not just paying for your children to have energy, you are paying for your children to exist beyond and guarantee them that life is going to go on for their children and their children and their children and their children. Because these companies that would say National Grid, that if it wasn't owned by a great big CEO, that would be able to utilize the profit, and sure, there would be a director, right? But they would get a small amount of dosh, but a good amount of dosh. Don't worry, all the people that work for it will live comfortably, more comfortably than one person at the top that's taking all of that money. And these individuals that when they pass on, what are they going to do with all that money? You can't take it with you. What are you going to do with it? And again, if it goes into the people then pay the bills, and then when people pay the bills, they're paying to ensure the future humanity is going to go on.
Yeah.
It is going to continue on beyond what this star can produce, beyond what the planet. It wants to go on beyond what the planet can live for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the planet could only live, for argument's sake, 10,000 years, when you pay into that pot, you are ensuring that another Earth will be created from this, that another star energy source will be able to be created from this in terms of light, and you will be able to build a craft that outdates this planet. Because that is what this gift is, isn't it? The gift to be able to think, the gift to be able to create, the gift to be able to talk and communicate with one another, the gift to be able to do something about your fate. Not rely on waiting for the star to fizzle out, not waiting for the planet to dry up and run out, or an impact. Humanity gets to a certain point in its existence where it is bigger than these problems.
Yeah.
It is bigger than an asteroid. It is bigger than the star running out of its life cycle, let's say, when it gets to the end of its life cycle.
Yeah.
And each time you pay into the pot, this is what we're going towards. And this is what this pot will be made to go towards. The whole of the government will be reformed and reshaped and transformed into something that guarantees all children's futures. Every time you pay a bill, every time you drink something, every time you eat a piece of food, it will be ensuring that space equals craft, yes?
Yeah.
A craft that supports all people. Not some pockets, not some millionaires. No, the millionaire time is, I think, it sounds great, doesn't it? But this sounds so much more what we are all about in our very essence, that we can all live in this millionaire idea. We can all put into this. We can all roll our sleeves up and everybody has a place in it. Everyone. Whether the young to the old, everybody has a place. Whether you are black or you're white, whether you are male or female, everybody has a role to play. I don't think I've missed anybody out. No, regardless of what background you come from, regardless of what your sexual preference may be. I think that's how you say it, not 100%. It doesn't matter where you come from in this. It matters where we're going, where we're headed as a whole entire species. And trust me when I say it, the future will thank the past. No longer look back and think, why did they do those things? No, the future will look back and think, I'm so glad they did that. They took the initiative and they did something that was so more beyond what they could ever see, what they could ever know at the time. And I think that's what makes us what we are. That's what this gift we've all been given. We've all been blessed with this, especially humans on this planet have been blessed with a gift to do something not only about their fate, but the fate of nature, the fate of mushrooms, the fate of bacteria, if you want to say that, the fate of all animals on the planet that we have so far, and the animals that are yet to come, and the humans that are yet to come, and the plants that are yet to come, and the bacteria. Sure, you don't want all of these things living together. That's for sure. You don't want to be mixing certain types of bacteria with humans, obviously. So they go in this bit of the craft. Another part where you've got some vicious animals that just, don't get along together because it would be silly to put them in. You have them here. That's protecting them. Then you've got a part for humans. You've got a part for this. You've got a part for nature. You've got a part then that's all wild like the earth.
Yeah.
To keep that magical essence of where you came from, or where you were aware of where you came from. Earth. And to make an earth that is fully sustainable. Not 1, but 2, but 3, not 4, but not 5, not 6, not 7, but all of them. Every single type of area that we've lived, whether we've got desert and these areas, this and that, because it all has a place, a purpose. And it's just like everything, we all have a place and a purpose. And I think then technology should start to wrap around this sort of concept, this process. The money in the pot, for one person, it's far too much. I feel, me personally, and sure, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but mine is that if I had that much money, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I would like to try and figure out a way of at least absorbing it all into this. Because it's not for the benefit of me, it's for the benefit of everything that we come to know and love and cherish, and also the things that we might not love and cherish so much, but still it has a place, it has a purpose. And just moving the national grid towards this might open a door of Pandora for carbon batteries, for hydrogen batteries, for all sorts of other things. And it does start to close the door for billion, trillion, gazillionaires.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Doesn't mean that you can't live good from it. But it does mean that that sort of door sort of starts to get closed and a new purpose, a new way of being across the whole planet is established.
Yeah.
Not one that's forged out of fear, but one that's forged in unity. Not one that's just forged in unity, that holds a place for not just you, not just me, but for everybody and everything that's in it. I think that this would be a wise step in the right direction. And in order to do that, I think certain things need to be adapted. Then the national grid can then start figuring out a space grid that we're going to need. We can start to move forward to that. If that pot gets quite a bit of cash in there and we've got a little bit of a disaster going on, unfolding, we then have money, or money turned into manpower, human power, female power. It doesn't really matter. I don't want to get hung up on how to be politically correct in all of that. It's just what I've brought up to understand. So there's money in the pot for human power to address the situation without fear. With a knowing, right, this and this. It leaves the pot open for new endeavors, new opportunities, right? To find new ways of achieving the very basics of what we all rely on. Fresh water. Great. There's money in a pot. What about if it's a new type of power source? Okay, there's money in the pot for it. Money equals human workers, I guess. You know, and then we've got resources to think about. Well, perhaps there are not many resources on the earth. I mean, there is quite a few, but still, why would we want to dig up earth when we can go and dig up the back garden? Do you know what I mean? There's another, let's say the moon, untapped. The moons of Jupiter. Why don't we go dig those up? Let's go and get all of that. Bring it into the earth. Why? Well, because there's more resources. And even if we don't need it, let's move it closer. Let's already be getting that going. Let's already be bringing that closer to what we can access at the time when we may or may not need it. And do you think that then everyone would say that's very destructive? Maybe. But then if you see the way stars then explode and all the planets around them, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all of that turns into dust and a new nebula is born. New star is born from that destruction. So it's not destruction in essence. Change the word. It's recycling it. We're going to recycle that moon of Jupiter and we're going to recycle it into something that we can use for a lot longer than what that moon would be sitting around Jupiter for. We'll be recycling this, the rings of Saturn. We're going to be recycling it. We're going to recycle it into what we would class as space junk, in essence. And we're going to recycle it into something that is more suited to support humans. You are not superior, you become superior, not to one another, but to your universe. You have to achieve that. In order by resonating your mind, or your thoughts have to resonate with the potential of what is out there and what you could do with that. More metal. Mars has a lot of metal across the planet. I think we should be getting it. No point if we leave it here. It's always going to get destructed anyway, isn't it? We might as well get it. We might as well make use of it. You might as well make use of other stuff as well. That's all out there. Take it and recycle it. Sure, it sounds like a challenge in the beginning, but Earth has been the starting point. You've learned how to mine the Earth. This has prepared you. The Earth, it will be no different if it was a moon of another planet. Or moons of another planet. It makes no difference. You've had the practice on Earth. And it's been done in such a really good way that you are so beyond what it is to do it on Earth. You now need to align and let's go to the moons. Let's go to space. Let's bring the resources home or closer to the planet. So if another idea comes about, you know what? Yeah, we've got the resources for that, do we? Yes, we've got that. Okay, go ahead, build that. something new comes out and then it supports and props up humanity for another 100,000 years, then 200,000 years, then a million years.
Yeah.
I mean, then you can really start to understand. Then you can expand into these.
Mm-hmm.
More humans, more resources being grabbed, more ideas being thought,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
more potential.
Yeah.
And that's more of a presence. But somewhere along the lines, unity is very important, because to build all those numbers up, to then start battles and different things like that, that kind of wastes what this gift is, isn't it? That wastes it. There's far more to focus on than across the waters. I think if we just adjust. So yeah, if elected into power, this is what I would have the government start formulating into this. This is how it would be. Everything would be done for a purpose of this, because eventually this time is going to come where it's going to need to be ready. And we don't want to be, after the doors open, the horse is bolted. We want to be prepared. We want to be saying, okay, it's now time to let that horse out. And we want to be able to jump on that horse and get to a destination. We don't want to be behind and waiting. Oh, damn, we're still at the stable door, but the horse is gone. Mm. We don't want to be at that.
Yeah.
And then bit by bit, using a word transforming,
mm-hmm.
which then causes it to transform into the benefits of all. And I think that's where we should align. And that's what I would make happen. And how would I make it happen? By taking these steps. And then it would be getting behind technology companies. It would be making robotics that can go off to do this as well. Getting behind all the companies that have that initiative that they want to go there. It would mean collaborating with some of the companies that are already around, with tech companies, and upscaling. And anything that we would make, we wouldn't hold a copyright on it. We would allow others to build this too. Why? Because the more the merrier. I think there is more than enough for us all to share this stuff. There's more than enough. And we don't need to, as a nation, go and say that that's all ours. We don't need to do that. We're not greedy. We're selfless, and we want to share this experience, because it's going to take a lot of us, all hands on deck, right?
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of us. I think we've come away from that, what it's like to work together, but it's more like, is it the Romans with the old rowboats? Was it Romans or was it Vikings? The Viking boats where they had the oars. They all had to work together.
I think both had that.
Well, either or, and maybe some Egyptian vessels there as well.
Yeah, and Spanish.
So if we're going to look at that as a type of situation, we can either be at the control of one ship that is steered by one, or we can take that Roman, Viking, Egyptian, Spanish, British, whatever. We can take that. Everyone has to row together. Mm-hmm. Everyone has to go to the same drumbeat. And each of us have our part to play in moving that craft, that art, that essence of what we are together in order to turn the hands of the clock. Yeah. I think. No, I don't think it. I know it. I feel it. Mm-hmm. So it would be to sort of bring down some of that stuff rather than have it sort of greed incentive. It would be more purpose. Mm-hmm. We would move as a nation together with purpose, and anyone else that wanted to join in, feel free. Under the conditions, I guess, that we should all have with one another, that we're all going to do this together. Yeah. No one runs above or past anybody else. Mm-hmm. We all do this together. Yeah. More the merrier. And we all charge ahead for the common interests, to ensure that our children and their children's children's children get to see another day. How that will look in the future is, I don't know. But we got to do something to start that ball rolling. We got to light the fireworks. It's time to... There we are. I'm going to leave that one there. So that's just a short one, I think.
Yeah.